Welcome to This Explainer. Let's just jump right in. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating analysis that takes ancient Machiavellian strategies and turns them into a highly practical, everyday playbook. We're talking about actionable steps for maintaining total financial privacy in a world that is, frankly, obsessed with oversharing. If you're sick of the endless social media flexing and you want to know how actual lasting power is built behind the scenes, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're kicking things off with this core truth straight from our source material. Money is loud, but wealth is quiet. It completely shatters this massive lie society feeds us, this idea that truly wealthy people actually want you to see how they did it. Because here's the reality, real wealth protects itself with silence. The literal second you start making noise about your money, you attract the absolute worst kind of attention. Just consider the classic dynamic between the lion and the fox. The lion is your typical modern Instagram flexer, right? Super loud, highly visible, showing off the brand new car and the shiny watch. But in the financial world, being that visible lion just paints a giant target on your back. The fox, though? Hidden, calculated, strategic. The source uses the historical example of Giovanni de' Medici. The guy was the richest man in Italy, but if you passed him on the street, he just wore ordinary clothes with no massive entourage. He blended in completely as a fox, survived, and quietly controlled the entire board. So, here is the four-pillar playbook we'll be breaking down today. Number 1, the trap of loud money. 2, master true financial camouflage. 3, build in the shadows. And finally 4, create systems, not monuments. All right, moving right into pillar number 1, the trap of loud money, and exactly why flexing is failing. The source maps out this disastrous real-life timeline of a Bitcoin investor back in 2017. This guy turned a modest investment into massive 5x returns in just 60 days. Unbelievable, right? But instead of keeping his mouth shut, he posts his screenshots all over Facebook. Big mistake. By day 70, relatives are suddenly knocking on his door begging for cash, and the tax notices start rolling in. His stress absolutely skyrockets. He panic sells, and within 90 days, the entire fortune is just gone. Fast money that makes noise disappears exactly as fast as it came. Then there's this chilling example of a Mumbai startup founder. He builds a company valued at 100 crores. Incredible milestone. So what does he do? He throws a massive party and openly brags about his future strategies. Well, 6 months later, his own CTO and marketing head resign, literally steal his exact business model, and destroy his company. By telling everyone exactly what he had, he basically handed over all his leverage on a silver platter. Which brings us to pillar 2, master true financial camouflage. Let's look at the daily actions for stealth growth. These steps are pulled directly from the historical account of Francesco, a Renaissance textile merchant. When Francesco started pulling in massive profits, he didn't run out and upgrade his lifestyle. Nope. He kept wearing his old, worn-out clothes and sat in the exact same tiny shop. When folks asked how business was doing, he'd sigh and complain that the market was just really slow. And guess what happened? His competitors totally ignored him. Suppliers felt bad and gave him better rates out of sheer pity. And he quietly became the absolute biggest player in Florence. You literally have to actively let people think you're just average. This really gets to the heart of image control. You have to remember, people react to your image, not your actual reality. If people think you're wildly successful, you instantly become this magnet for jealousy, heavy expectations, and targeted attacks. But if you carefully craft an image of being perfectly ordinary, you are completely insulated from office politics and greedy acquaintances. You protect your life by rigorously controlling exactly what the outside world gets to see. So when someone asks about your success, you need an exact script. Try things like, I was just lucky, or the boss really helped out, or man, the market is just tough right now. If you get a promotion, chalk it up to luck. If your business crushes a quarter, just say you're surviving. The source points out that visible capability is very often viewed as a threat by people in power. By downplaying your own intelligence, you completely lower everyone else's defenses. They stop competing with you, and instead, they start feeding you incredibly valuable information. Now let's dive into pillar 3, build in the shadows. This is all about your network and asset privacy. The source heavily stresses maintaining a strict duality in your daily life. On the public side, you keep up the camouflage, a boring, ordinary job, a just surviving mentality, and basic unbranded clothing. But in your private reality, that's where you're holding multiple private income streams, investments that literally only your accountant knows about, and a quiet, growing financial empire. It's totally separate. And speaking of accountants, to build that empire, you need a shadow network. You are not looking for loud, flashy influencers here. The true power players are almost invisible. You want to befriend the background chartered accountant, connect with the media-shy lawyer, build a solid relationship with the quiet banker who stays completely out of the spotlight. These are the people who actually hold the keys and understand how money really moves. Just think about the sheer scale of this number. $58 billion. That was the net worth of IKEA founder Ingvar Kamprad. And how did a guy with $58 billion live? He drove a 15-year-old Volvo, flew economy class, and ate street food. People literally laughed at him and called him cheap. But he was actually executing the ultimate defensive strategy. He lived entirely on his own terms, completely protecting himself from unwanted attention, because he had absolutely nothing to prove to anyone. Finally, we arrive at Pillar 4. Create systems, not monuments. The true architecture of freedom. When it comes to your money, you essentially face one massive choice. Are you going to buy monuments, or are you going to build systems? Monuments are the Ferraris, the Rolexes, the grand palaces. They're highly visible, sure, but they constantly drain your cash just to impress total strangers. Systems, on the other hand, are invisible. We're talking dividend portfolios, passive income streams, assets that literally feed you while you're sleeping. The source draws a really powerful parallel back to Renaissance Italy here. Those showy, monument-building families who threw lavish, over-the-top parties to flex their wealth, they went completely broke within 3 generations. They're literally just footnotes in history now. Meanwhile, the quiet families who focused entirely on building invisible systems, like locking down trade routes, they ensured their wealth and power lasted for centuries. The pattern is clear. Monument builders inevitably decline, while system builders just keep growing. When you stop proving, you start improving. This is such a crucial takeaway. If you're constantly feeling this urge to show off your designer clothes or post your every single win online, you are still completely trapped by other people's opinions. You've got to drop the giant logos, mute the noise. Because the moment you stop trying to prove your worth to the outside world, you finally free up all that energy to quietly improve your private reality. I want to leave you with this final provocative test, straight from the source. Ask yourself honestly right now, if you had to stop working tomorrow, how long would you survive? A week? A month? If your answer is anything less than a year, then it honestly doesn't matter how successful you look on the outside. You are just living in a beautifully gilded cage. Because your income is tied entirely to your time. So, take these Machiavellian secrets, drop the desperate need for public applause, and start building your quiet, invisible systems today.